Welcome to the Wife Stories YouTube channel. New video every day, and don't forget to subscribe. Here we go.
You haven't changed. She's standing behind me, voice trembling with something that sounds like anger, but not the usual kind. There's a forced calm to it, as if she wants to sound in control but doesn't quite believe her own performance. And me, I'm staring out the window, watching cars drift by in the bluish dusk. My reflection in the glass looks pale, hollow. That's how I feel inside. Hollow. She repeats it, a little louder. You haven't changed at all. I let the words hang in the air. Then I turn around, slowly, and feel my throat tighten. I'm breathing, but it's shallow, almost imperceptible. I can't decide which is stronger, my disgust, or my numb fascination at how everything that was once comfortable has turned into a battlefield of quiet bitterness. She exhales, lifts her chin, and tries to catch my eye. She won't break eye contact. She wants a fight. I can sense that. Once, I would have given it to her. Now, I don't have the energy, or maybe I've got too much fury in me, and I'm terrified of what will happen if I let it out. My name is Daniel Clark. I'm 38. I used to be a husband. I still wear this ring, but it feels too tight around my finger these days, like a constant pinch reminding me of a promise that was gutted from the inside. She's Madeleine, 35, beautiful, a marketing consultant with big dreams, big gestures, and an even bigger smile that once made me feel like the world was warm. And now I see that same smile in pictures I never should have seen, with a man whose hands rest on her waist in a hotel room I don't recognize. That was my introduction to the new reality. Photos in the cloud. My cloud, ironically. She forgot to sign out on my laptop. Or maybe she thought I'd never look. I fix computers. I know my way around data backups. So when my phone pinged me about new images uploading to our shared drive, I opened them absent-mindedly. I was in the workshop, coding something for a project, hardly paying attention. Then I saw her, in a dark red lingerie set, back to the camera but face turned enough to show her parted lips, her eyes hazy with a kind of hunger I hadn't seen in months. Another photo. She's in a mirror, he's behind her, half his face hidden by her shoulder, but I see the shape of his jaw, the smug curve of his mouth. Then another. They're lying on a hotel bed, his hand on her bare thigh. I remember my breath hitching, as if my lungs had iced over. Time seemed to slow. All the lines of code on my screen disappeared under a haze of shock. My heart wasn't pounding. It was stopping. Stalling. I stared at those pictures, every angle, every provocative shape of her body that I'd once considered mine, something sacred between us. And now it was there on the screen, shared with a man I'd never met. His arms around her, her laughter bright. She'd never looked so alive. And that's what broke me first, seeing her so happy in a world that excluded me entirely. But that's not the worst part. The worst part was the slow realization that I was seeing something unstoppable, a tide that had already swept through my life. I was only now picking up the driftwood, the scattered bits of normalcy. I couldn't speak. I just closed the lid of my laptop. Then, in my dazed state, I reopened it. I stared again, as if looking for a way to disclaim it, to believe it was some sick joke or maybe an ad that popped up incorrectly. But no, it was her account. Her pictures, with someone else's hand on her waist. She says I haven't changed. But I have. I've rotted from the inside, while outwardly I keep the same posture, the same polite facade. That night, after I discovered the photos, I did something that feels half crazy now. I set up my webcam, angled it at my chair, clicked record. I turned on the microphone. Then I just sat there, in front of my laptop, letting the pictures rotate in a slow, humiliating slideshow. Her lingerie, his arms, her parted lips. All of it. I wanted to record my face as I watched, as the fury and heartbreak twisted me from one second to the next. But ironically, it wasn't as dramatic as I imagined. I stared, blinked, exhaled, over and over, searching for feeling in my own chest. For a minute, I thought maybe tears would come. Instead, there was nothing. A dead calm. My eyes stung, but they stayed dry. I wanted her to see that footage. Wanted her to watch me watch them. Because she never logged out of that account, and I could upload the video to a private folder only she had access to. So I did. And I titled it, "Look at Me." Because that's what I wanted. For her to watch me in real time, in silent condemnation, as I realized everything we'd built was gone. That's not who I used to be. Someone who'd set up a camera to exact a grim emotional punishment. But maybe that's who I am now. Or maybe I was always capable of it, and just never had a reason. "You haven't changed," she said. She's wrong. I've changed more than I can even express. I recall the first night she came home after those pictures were taken. She had no idea I knew. I was in the kitchen making coffee. The simplest, most domestic act. She set her purse on the table, smiled at me. God, the nerve. She gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, and I just stood there. Nodded. She asked how my day was. I said, "Fine." She kept talking about something. Maybe a new client who wanted a marketing campaign. I was only half listening, my head full of images of her mouth pressed to someone else's. She must have noticed the tension, because she asked if anything was wrong. "I'm just tired," I replied. That was my first lie. The first time I withheld the truth that I'd seen everything. She carried on, chatting about dinner plans, about her upcoming trip. That was the worst, knowing she was probably seeing him again on that trip. Even as she stood there in our kitchen, wearing the ring I'd given her, she was already scheduling time with him. I held it inside. Maybe out of shock, or cowardice, or sick curiosity to see how far she'd go. Over the next few days, my mind was a war zone. I'd catch glimpses of her texting, and I'd imagine it was him. I saw her styled her hair differently in the morning, and I'd wonder if that's how he liked it. My anger flared in bright bursts, but outwardly I forced composure. Something inside me said, "Wait, don't react yet." Then came that morning in the workshop, when I discovered even more photos had synced to my cloud while I was away. Lingerie turned into explicit poses, her phone angled at a mirror, capturing every line of her body. The man's hands all over her, my wife with him in a cheap hotel. And I realized she must be so lost in this affair that she forgot the simplest detail, log out of my account. Or maybe she didn't forget. Maybe she wanted me to find out. Some twisted cry for help. The question circled me like a shark. I decided I needed proof, the kind that might crush any attempt at denial. So I put on the webcam again. This time, I walked out the door of my study, leaving the recording in progress, pointed at the screen. On the screen, I left those images open. I wanted her to come in and see me, or at least see the back of my head. Maybe that visual would haunt her. Me, a silent spectator, scrolling through her betrayal. Then I left. I went downstairs, sat in the living room, waited. My heart hammered. After a while, I heard footsteps. The door creaked open above. Then silence. I imagined her standing there, seeing me on the screen, seeing her pictures. A moment that would brand itself into her memory. I felt no satisfaction, only a cold, draining heaviness. 2 hours later, she walked downstairs. She didn't say a word. She avoided my eyes. I asked quietly, "Anything you want to tell me?" She shook her head, swallowing hard. "No," she said, so softly it was barely audible. She retreated to the bedroom. We didn't speak for the rest of the night. I lay awake, feeling the weight of everything pressing down, suffocating me. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab her by the shoulders and demand an explanation. I wanted to go on a rampage, break dishes, tear pictures off the walls. Instead, I stared at the ceiling, listening to the clock tick. Around 3 a.m., I got up, made a cup of coffee, and stood by the window until the sky turned pale. She was gone the next day before I woke. No note, no text. I knew where she was, Or maybe I only assumed, but my chest was on fire with resentment, the kind that makes you taste metal at the back of your throat. That's when I started planning my revenge. I'd never thought of myself as vindictive. But the heartbreak turned into a twisted adrenaline. I wanted her to feel the same sense of violation, the same hopelessness, or maybe I didn't want her to feel it exactly. I wanted to show her the cost of betrayal. I wanted a reason to keep going, something that made sense in the rubble of our relationship. I'd learned to build websites in my spare time. Nothing complex, but enough to piece together a basic portfolio. So I took her professional photos, those she used for clients, and replaced them with screenshots of her private images. I integrated them seamlessly, forging a new profile that looked real enough to pass at a glance. Then I sent the link to her business associates, to her close friends. Just a quiet email. Madeline's updated portfolio. Check it out. I did it while feeling both nauseous and unstoppable. The adrenaline of fury kept me from hesitating. I told myself it was justice, that she deserved to watch her pristine reputation crumble, the same way she'd shattered my faith. A part of me wanted to see the panic in her eyes when she realized she couldn't undo it all at once. As soon as she tried to remove the site or the images, I'd mirror them on a new domain. I'd replicate them, share them through different channels. This was the digital age after all. Once you release something online, it's nearly impossible to contain it. She called me, crying. I could hear the tears in her voice, the shock. She tried to ask, "Why would you do this?" I held the phone to my ear, but I didn't say a word, just breathed. Eventually, I hung up. Then came the texts. Frantic, panicked. She threatened, "Stop this, or I'll have you arrested." Maybe she believed that was possible. I archived them all, calmly. I changed all my passwords, locked my phone, made sure there was no easy route for her to retaliate. My heart pounded, my hands trembled at times, but I refused to let her see that side of me. I was losing track of day and night, consumed by this unstoppable cycle of uploading, duplicating, lying in wait. Every time she managed to shut down a link, I'd post another. I felt sick to my stomach, but I kept going. A few weeks passed. She disappeared from our apartment. I didn't bother to check if she was at a friend's place or a cheap motel. Maybe she was with him. I told myself it didn't matter. I was locked in a one-man war. She posted something on Facebook, a desperate cry. Someone's destroying my life. I don't know why. I saw it. I read the comments from her acquaintances. Hang in there. Maddie. Oh, Munji. What's going on? But I said nothing. Didn't even hit like. I let her drown in confusion. I remember hearing from a mutual friend that she'd lost a contract with a big client, that her colleagues were whispering behind her back. The sense of vindication I expected never really came. Instead, I just felt a dull ache. But I pressed on, because it was the only path that made sense. "You haven't changed," she says now, in a hush, as we stand here in the living room. The memory of those pictures, that man's hands on her, is still raw in my mind. Robert Shaw, 40 years old, a consultant with a fancy suit and an inflated sense of self. I'd done a little digging, found his profile, saw the swirl of compliments from colleagues about what a dynamic performer he was in business. I'd pictured confronting him in a dark hallway, slamming him against a wall. But I never did. My fight wasn't with him alone. It was with the version of me that believed in marriage, the version that used to trust her. That version was shredded beyond recognition. When she says I haven't changed, maybe she's trying to provoke me. Maybe she believes I'm still the gullible, quietly supportive husband who'd do anything for her career. But I know better. I see it in her eyes. Fear, exhaustion. She's not sure who I am anymore. I break the silence, my voice coming out shaky, even though I want it calm. "And you? Have you changed, Madeline?" She flinches, like she wasn't prepared for a response. "What do you want me to say?" she whispers. "You want me to beg?" I hold her gaze. I remember. I say, the day you told me, we'll figure it out. That was your phrase, remember? I let the bitterness seep in. Every time we hit a snag or a rough patch. We'll figure it out, Daniel. Don't worry. That's what you used to say. It was your way of telling me I shouldn't stress, that you had everything under control. She swallows, her lip trembling. That was before. Before you had to see me scrolling through pictures of you with some clown in a cheap hotel. My voice cracks. I push on, because I can't hold it back. Does that ring a bell? Are we still figuring it out? Because from where I stand, all you figured out is how to crawl back and see if there's any piece of me left to manipulate. She steps forward, tears on her lashes, but I can't read her expression clearly. Is it regret? Fear? Shame? All I know is that I feel the weight of her presence like a slab of ice on my chest. I'm sorry, she says, voice shaking. I was lonely. I felt like you were drifting away, and then I raise a hand to stop her. Don't you dare say I drove you into his arms. That's not an explanation. That's deflection. Her eyes flicker with anger. I'm not deflecting. I cut her off, my voice surprisingly loud. You're deflecting, Madeleine. You always do. You talk your way out of things. That's your job, right? Marketing, spin, persuasion. My laugh is hollow, laced with years of frustration. You're good at telling people what they want to hear. But you never once asked me what I needed. Did you? She breathes hard, tears streaking her cheeks. I wait. She clenches her fists, then exhales. You changed first, she finally whispers. That's the truth. You shut down. You buried yourself in your computers and your projects. I felt invisible. For a second, I feel a pang of recognition. Maybe I did close myself off, but that doesn't excuse the images burned into my brain. I try to keep my voice steady, but it wavers. If I got distant, you could have told me. You could have demanded my attention, screamed at me, threatened me, anything. But you. My voice cracks again. I force the words out. You threw it all away for a cheap thrill. The silence afterwards is suffocating. She rubs her wrists, glances at the door, like she's thinking of leaving. Maybe she will. Maybe I want her to. But there's a part of me that's starved for closure. Some final unveiling of truth. I'm not even sure what that truth would look like. Her face is drawn, her once brilliant eyes dim. I remember how she used to glow when she got a new client or discovered some new creative approach to a marketing campaign. Now, the woman in front of me is a husk. I realize something. My revenge was thorough. Maybe more thorough than I'd intended. She's lost business, lost support. She's afraid to show her face. She's learned that the digital realm can be a monstrous place, unstoppable once you fan the flames. I watch her stand there, shoulders hunched, trying to muster the nerve to speak. I notice her hair is disheveled, her eyeliner smudged. She used to be so careful with her appearance. Now she looks borderline haunted. Suddenly, she reaches out and touches my arm. I flinch. Daniel, she says, I know what you did. The site, the photos, the messages. Her voice catches. It's killing me. I can't sleep. I can't walk into an office without feeling people stare, Judge. You're destroying me piece by piece. Is that really what you want? I grit my teeth. The question slices into me. Once, I did want that. I wanted her to suffer the way I was suffering. Now that I see it in flesh and blood, I'm numb. I wanted you to feel what betrayal is. I say, quiet. To taste that helplessness. You've made your point, she manages. There's nothing left for me to lose. You. She gulps, then continues softly. You're everything I have left. And I don't even know if that's real anymore. I almost laugh. I'm everything you have left. That's a joke. You left me the second you climbed into that hotel bed with him. My voice shakes again, and I cough, trying to clear the lump. My gaze drifts to the window. I've changed, Madeleine. You just don't want to see it. She hesitates, a shudder running through her. What do you want from me? She repeats. An apology. A confession. Do you want me to beg on my knees? It won't fix what happened. I can't find the right words. My throat burns. All these months of hatred, planning, exposing her, fueling my days with the pure drive for payback. Now it's caught up with me. My knees feel weak. My voice is raw. I don't know what I want, I admit, almost under my breath. I don't know who I am in this marriage anymore. Maybe I don't want this marriage at all. She closes her eyes, tears spilling down her cheeks. I remember when I first said, we'll figure it out. You had lost a big account, and you were depressed. I told you we'd handle it together, that there was no challenge we couldn't face. That was the man I married. A man who believed in solutions, who believed in us. Yeah. I nod vaguely. I believed in us. But that belief is gone now, and I'm left with this. I gesture around the empty living room. Walls that echo with the memory of your voice. A ring that feels like a shackle. Images of you in bed with him. Silence. So much silence. My gaze returns to her. She's trembling. There's a moment where I almost want to pull her close, to bury my face in her hair and remember the comfort we once shared. But that urge flickers and dies almost instantly. The trust is beyond broken. And the anger, although it's not blazing hot anymore, lurks like embers beneath my ribs. Finally, she says, I'm sorry. Simple words, but said with trembling sincerity. I never meant to. She trails off. I can guess the rest. She never meant to get caught. She never meant to lose everything. Or maybe she never meant to break me in half. I watch her mouth open, close. I recall the moment I discovered those photos. The cold sweat in the back of my neck. The surge of blood behind my eyes. I recall the numb acceptance that I was living a lie. And then I recall how I carefully, methodically, tore her digital presence apart. The fake Instagram, the link to her portfolio, the humiliating blasts I sent to her contacts. The shock in her voice when she called. Frantic. That had been my form of therapy, watching her illusions crumble, day after day. She steps away, giving me space to breathe. Do you want me to leave? Or stay? Daniel, talk to me. Please. My jaw clenches. I think about Robert. I wonder if he's out there, waiting. If they still see each other. My bitterness flares again. Stay, go. I don't care. I say, though we both know that's not entirely true. I run a hand over my face. I just want peace, but I don't know if I'll ever find it here, in this apartment, with these memories. Her eyes soften. We could sell it. Move. Don't, I snap. Don't pretend like you can fix this with a new location. The problem is you and me and him, and everything we've done. She lowers her head, silent. Her tears drip onto the floor. Then with a shaky exhale, she says, I deserve what you did. Maybe not all of it, but I deserve a lot of it. I sigh heavily. My shoulders sag. I'm so tired. I admit, I haven't slept well in weeks. Every time I close my eyes, I see you and him. I see that cheap hotel bedspread, your skin. My words break. I don't even know how to talk about it. She sucks in a breath. It was aunts. Don't lie to me, I hiss. I saw the timestamps. It happened multiple times, over at least a few weeks. The lingerie changed, the rooms changed. So don't stand here and say it was a one-time mistake. She presses her lips together, says nothing, confirming the truth. I run a hand through my hair, exhaling in a shaky gust. You realize you destroyed everything for a fling, for a little excitement. She closes her eyes. I didn't plan on destroying us, Daniel. I was lonely. You were locked in your own head. He seemed easy. He listened. I grimace. He listened. He listened as you stripped in front of a camera. Great listener, that guy. My bitterness seeps through every syllable. but behind that bitterness is a bottomless pit of sadness. Because I recall the earlier days of our marriage, how she used to whisper in my ear, how we used to laugh at silly jokes in bed. We were a team, once upon a time. She steps closer again, and I don't move away this time. What do I have to do for you to forgive me? She asks, tears shining. Forgiveness. I taste the word like it's foreign. That's not something that just happens because you say sorry enough times or because you cry. It's a process, and I'm not sure I want to go through it, or if I can. She bites her lip, shoulders shaking. Then, we end this. Her voice breaks. Is that what you want? I look at the ring on my finger, turning it slightly. It's left a faint indentation in my skin. I used to say, I'm yours, and you're mine. But you changed the rules. Now, I don't know who I am. She reaches for my hand. Hesitantly, I let her touch it. My fingers are stiff. She squeezes, but I don't respond. I'm sorry, she murmurs again. For everything. I close my eyes, memories flooding me. Her laughter in our wedding photos. The warmth of her hands on my chest. The first time she said, "We'll figure it out, Daniel," in that confident, comforting tone. Then I see the pictures from the cloud, like a slideshow burned into my retinas. My voice cracks. I thought you were everything good in my life. But now, I feel like I'm watching you die in front of me, or I'm the one dying. I can't tell anymore. She rubs her cheek, tries to stand taller. We can talk about therapy. Or, I laugh, short and humorless. Therapy. After all the stunts we pulled. You think we can just walk in, hold hands, talk it out with some kindly counselor. My throat is tight. We're past that. We're so far past that. She nods, tears still slipping down. I understand. It's just that I have no one left to turn to. My mother thinks I've lost my mind. My colleagues, well, you know how that's gone. She winces, remembering the job offers that dried up after I sent those scandalous pictures masked as her new brand identity. The memory used to give me a rush of triumph. Now it just tastes bitter. We stand in silence. I can hear her uneven breathing, smell the faint perfume she always wears. It used to be comforting. Now it's an unwanted reminder of all we've lost. Finally, I decide to speak. So, this is it. We're both here, in the living room we decorated together. You found me in front of a window, telling me I haven't changed. Maybe you're hoping I'm still the man who'd fight for you, fix everything, do anything to protect you. And you're half right. I was that man once. I let the words settle. But that man's gone. She holds my gaze, tears glimmering. Then who are you? I open my mouth, but I have no answer. That's the truth. I don't know, I whisper finally. All I know is that I can't go back. Not after what you did. Not after what I did. She closes her eyes as if bracing for a slap. But all I do is step past her, into the hallway, leaving her behind in the living room. I hear her footsteps follow, slow and tentative. For a moment, I consider locking myself in the study, slamming the door. But I don't want to be in that room anymore, that place that fueled so much of my obsession. Instead, I go to the kitchen. The coffee machine still has some leftover grounds from this morning. I fill the kettle, flick it on, let the hiss fill the silence. She stands by the doorway, hugging herself. The overhead light washes her out, makes the tear streaks on her cheeks glisten. We're so far from that couple who used to stand side by side, cooking dinner with jazz music in the background. I reach for a mug, put it on the counter. Then I speak, quietly. You told me once. Do you remember? Don't worry, we'll figure it out, Daniel. My voice is gravelly. That's what you said when I lost that big contract. And I believed you. I believed we could handle anything. She sniffles. I believed it too, at the time. Did you say the same thing to him? My question slices through the air. After you had your little rendezvous, did you whisper, We'll figure it out to that piece of garbage who couldn't keep his hands off another man's wife. She bows her head. I told him nothing. It was just a fling. I never told him I'd leave you. I never planned to. I was stupid. I wait for the kettle to boil, that low rumbling building up. The tension in the kitchen feels like it's about to crack the walls. Do you still see him? I ask. My stomach knots, terrified of the answer. She looks up, eyes red. No, not since everything blew up. He tried to contact me a couple times, but I blocked him. I want no part of that anymore. And yet it happened. I grunt softly, my tone somewhere between a statement and an accusation. Then the kettle clicks off, and for a moment that small sound is jarringly loud in the hush. I pour water into my mug, watch steam swirl. I used to think that love was about having each other's backs. But you left me to drown in your lies. She steps forward, but I stiffen, and she stops. I regret it, she says, voice quavering. I regret it every day. Regret, I echo. Does that fix anything? Does that give me back my sense of worth, or my sleep, or the image of you that I had in my head? No, it doesn't. She says nothing, tears on her face again. I realize she's repeated, I'm sorry, and I regret it, in different ways all night, but it changes nothing. We're standing on scorched earth, the ruins of something that once was good. I sip my coffee, let the bitterness linger on my tongue. We shuffle into an awkward silence again, the two of us caught in a standoff. She runs a hand through her hair, messing it up further. I watch her with an odd detachment, as though I'm seeing a stranger. There's a phrase that echoes in my mind, something she used to say in the early days of our marriage. We're unstoppable together, Daniel. She's used that line so many times. Now look at us. What did you think when you first saw those photos? She asks quietly, as if she can't bear not knowing. Did you? She can't finish the question. I let out a long breath. I felt like I was going to vomit. My heart just froze in my chest. Then I felt rage, blinding rage. Then nothing. I went from scorching anger to a complete dead calm. Like part of me died right there. She nods, tears forming again. I never wanted you to see me like that. I snort. That's the thing. You never wanted me to see it, but you wanted it to happen. You're only sorry you got caught. Otherwise, you'd still be sneaking around, sending pictures to him, stepping out on me every time you left for a business trip. My voice is brittle. Don't you see how twisted that is? She flinches. Yes, I do. We lapse into another silence. Then she clears her throat. Is there any way forward for us? I look at her, feeling the hollowness in my chest. What do you think? My question is rhetorical, yet I want an answer, some sign that we're not doomed. But she doesn't respond, just lowers her gaze to the floor. I guess that's an answer in itself. Time drags in the hush. I finish my coffee, rinse the mug, set it aside. Then I turn to her, exhaling. I can't pretend to know the future. We could sign the divorce papers tomorrow, or we could drag this out for months, trying to fix something that might be beyond fixing. But right now, standing here, I feel like there's nothing left of who we were. We built something fragile, and it took just a little push to collapse. She tries to steady her voice. I missed who we were. My laughter is hollow. Yeah, me too. Her eyes roam the kitchen, like she's searching for something to anchor herself. Finding nothing, she steps toward me again, gently placing a hand on my wrist. This time, I don't yank away, but I don't return the gesture either. She says, tell me what you need, even if it's to walk away. What I need. I close my eyes. I see flash images, my father's proud handshake at our wedding, my mother's tears of joy, the couple's dance as we swayed under string lights. Then that kaleidoscope shatters, replaced by the images from the cloud. Her parted lips, her bare skin, that man's face half hidden behind her. It feels like acid in my veins. I open my eyes, meet her gaze. She's trembling. Her eyelashes cling together with tears. For a moment, I hate her and pity her in the same breath. I need to know who I am now, I say quietly. I need space to figure that out, because this shell we've built is suffocating me. She nods, tears slipping down. She looks so lost. Once upon a time, I would have wrapped my arms around her. Now, I can barely stand to be near her. My voice is a rasp as I add, "So maybe you should leave." She gives a shaky nod. Where do I go? Wherever, I answer, the bitterness creeping back. Maybe you could find him. See if that's still a possibility. She flinches. No, I don't want him. Then go to a friend, or a hotel, or your mother's. I don't care. I exhale, forcing my anger back down. I just can't breathe with you in this house. Not after everything. She runs a hand across her face, wiping tears. Okay, she says softly. Okay. She turns away, heading toward the bedroom to gather whatever she can. I stand in the kitchen, gripping the counter. My entire body feels tense, like I'd just stepped out of a fight. My heart pounds. I try to slow my breathing. This is it, I think. This is the moment she walks out the door, and a chapter of my life ends. I don't even know how I feel. Angry, relieved, devastated, maybe all of it at once. After a few minutes, I hear her footsteps in the hallway. She appears with a small overnight bag. She clutches it to her side. Our eyes meet, and we just stare. I notice how her hands shake. She opens her mouth, but I already know what she's going to say. "I'm sorry, Daniel." She says it anyway, voice cracked, barely above a whisper. I look away. "Lock the door behind you." She stands there, hope draining from her face. Then, with a swallow, she crosses to the front door. I can't bring myself to watch her leave, so I stare at the floor. The door clicks shut. A moment later, I hear her footsteps echo down the hallway outside. And then, silence. I let out a ragged breath I didn't know I was holding. My eyes burn with tears I've refused to shed since the day I saw those photos. Now, alone in the echo of an empty apartment, the tears come. They scald my cheeks, but they don't bring relief. The anguish floods my chest, and I gasp, trying to steady myself against the countertop. My sobs are dry, raw. I think of all the nights we spent here, cooking, dancing, laughing. All the quiet mornings with coffee. All the trips we planned. All the times she teased me about working too hard. I hold back a moan of grief that nearly tears my throat. Then I force myself to move. Step by step, I go to the window. Outside, a dull city glow lights the streets. Cars pass, headlights sweeping the dark. I stand there, letting the cold emptiness fill me. This is where I was the night I made that video, the night I let my camera record me in that dead calm. My sense of revenge was unstoppable then, like a drug fueling my every move. Now I wonder if it was worth it, or if I was just cutting myself deeper. The hours bleed together. I realize I haven't eaten. My eyes hurt. Eventually, I shuffle to the couch and collapse onto it, numb. I turn on the TV just to have some noise. The images blur. There's a moment of clarity. My marriage is effectively over. The woman I loved is gone, physically and emotionally. I destroyed her online presence. She destroyed my sense of trust, and I have no idea where that leaves me. The question pounds in my skull. Who am I now? Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Days pass. I move like a ghost through the apartment. I take calls from work, respond with minimal energy, do my tasks. People notice I'm distant, but they assume it's just a busy schedule. I dream of her sometimes, see her face flicker in and out. One night, half awake, I open the cloud folder again, not sure why. I scroll through the images, my personal chamber of horrors. My stomach twists. I slam the laptop shut, feeling my heart pound. I find myself flipping through old wedding photos. The stark contrast between those images, her radiant grin in a white dress. And the new ones, her parted lips in cheap lingerie with a man behind her. It's enough to make my head spin. I let the tears come again, quietly, without fanfare. A week later, she calls. I stare at the phone vibrating on the coffee table. I hesitate, then pick up, breathing into the receiver without speaking. I hear her shaky sigh. I just wanted you to know. I'm safe. I'm staying with my mother for now. She pauses. I'm respecting your need for space. But I wanted to ask if you'd be willing to meet, to talk about what's next. My voice feels like gravel. I don't know. I'm not sure I can face you yet. I understand, she whispers. But eventually, we'll have to talk. About legal things, at least. Fine. I say, harsh. We'll handle it. Later. Not now. She sniffles. All right. I'm sorry. The call ends. I let the phone slip from my hand. For the next few days, I drift in a fog. I think about revenge, about how thoroughly I carried it out. And I ask myself, did it make me feel better? Did I regain any sense of self-worth? The truth is, not really. She's destroyed, cowering in her mother's house, probably hated by her colleagues. And me, I'm left with the bitter aftertaste of a victory that feels more like self-inflicted damage. One morning, I find myself at the coffee shop down the street, sitting by the window. I watch passers-by, couples laughing, older pairs walking hand in hand. My mind conjures a memory. Our first date, how I was so nervous that I spilled coffee on my shirt. She laughed, dabbed at it with a napkin, told me, "Don't worry, we'll figure it out." And I grinned, thinking I'd found someone who understood me. The memory is both sweet and excruciating. I sip my coffee, feeling a pang. My phone buzzes with a text from a coworker. I glance at it, see something about a new software design. My mind drifts. I have to get back to the office soon, or at least log in from home. But for the moment, I just want to sit here in the swirl of normal people living normal lives. A single question hammers in my head. What now? Because I can't remain in this half-life. Some men turn to alcohol or bury themselves in random affairs. But I'm not sure that's in me. I think about the website I created to expose Madeleine, about the humiliations I unleashed. Is that who I am, or is that who grief turned me into? Eventually, I push back from the table, stand, and head to the door. The winter air outside is bracing, clearing some of the fog in my mind. I button my coat, walk home with determined steps. When I get inside, I open my laptop again. But this time I access the hosting service. I see all the mirrored sites I used to sabotage her name. My chest tightens. Slowly, I start shutting them down. One by one, removing pages and images. My finger hovers over the final delete button. It's like I'm severing a lifeline I clung to, the lifeline of revenge. But I press it anyway. The next day, she calls again. The site's gone, she says. Her tone is cautious, uncertain. Why? I close my eyes. Because I'm done. A brief silence. Thank you, she says softly. I sigh. It doesn't change anything. We're still broken. I know, she replies, voice trembling. But it means a lot to me. That you would do that. I can't muster any more conversation, so I end the call. Maybe she'll breathe a little easier now that her professional life isn't scorched earth. I don't know. For me, all I feel is exhaustion. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Time moves on in fits and starts. We communicate only about legal steps. There's talk of separating finances, selling the apartment eventually, letting each of us figure out a future alone. It's not final yet, but it's drifting that way. Then one afternoon, she shows up at the apartment, unannounced. I open the door to find her standing there in a simple coat, hair pulled back, dark circles under her eyes. She exhales, sees the flicker of surprise on my face. She says. I texted you. You didn't answer. I had left my phone on silent. What is it? I ask, not unfriendly, not inviting, just neutral. I came to get some things. She motions at the bedroom. Is that okay? I nod stiffly, stepping aside. She walks in, and the ghost of her perfume follows. As she passes the living room, she glances at me. You're calmer. I almost shrug. I'm empty. That's all. She doesn't argue. She disappears into the bedroom. I wait in the living room, hearing drawers open, the rustle of clothes. After a few minutes, she reemerges, carrying a box. She sets it near the door, as if pausing to see if there's any conversation to be had. Suddenly, I say, "What did he have that I didn't?" She looks up sharply. What? My expression is cold, but my voice shakes. Robert, was it just excitement? Money? A different kind of attention. She sighs, tears brimming. I wasn't looking for something you didn't have. I was looking for a rush, I guess. A feeling that I wasn't invisible. She brushes a tear away. He gave me compliments, made me feel special. I know it's messed up, but that's the truth. I stare at her, a mixture of sadness and fury swirling in my gut. You were always special, I say, voice breaking a little. I just didn't say it enough. She swallows. Maybe. Or maybe I just needed more than you could give. It doesn't matter anymore, does it? I close my eyes, forcing back the sting. No, I say quietly. I guess it doesn't. She lifts the box, shifting it against her hip. Her eyes flick around the apartment. I hope one day you can. Stop, I interrupt gently, yet firmly. Don't ask me for forgiveness. Not yet. She nods, tears spilling. Then she opens the door, and with a trembling breath, steps out. She glances back once, eyes full of a sorrow that reflects my own. Then the door closes. I stand there, heart pounding. After a moment, I retreat to the couch and bury my face in my hands. My entire body feels shaky, my throat tight. The memory of her words. I needed a rush. Claws at me. I wonder if she regrets that decision every second of the day, or if part of her still cherishes the thrill. I'll never know, and it kills me. Asterisk, 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 weeks pass. I learn through mutual connections that she's rebranding herself professionally, managing to salvage some of her marketing career. I feel a strange, uneasy relief. As much as I wanted her to suffer, it's exhausting to maintain that level of hatred. I have nothing left to prove. One evening, I find myself in the living room, the same place where everything unraveled, where I once left my laptop open with her pictures, waiting for her to see me discovering her betrayal. I sit there, alone, sipping coffee, staring at the window. It's become a habit. Me, in a chair, coffee in hand, looking out at the city lights. The place is silent. I exhale slowly, letting the tension seep out of my shoulders. Across from me is a mirror on the wall. In the reflection, I see my face, worn and tired. The question repeats, who am I now? Not the supportive husband, not the naive believer in happily ever after, but also not fully the vengeful, bitter man who posted her private photos for the world to see. I exist somewhere in the middle, uncertain, shaken. I think back to her words. You haven't changed. Part of me wonders if that was her way of saying she still saw the old me, the man who once loved her. But that man is battered, scared beyond recognition. The difference is now I see the world in stark colors, not romantic illusions. I see the line between betrayal and loyalty, how thin it can be. I see how vengeance can consume a man, only to leave him hollow when it's done. I set my coffee cup down. My reflection does the same. I notice I'm wearing the ring still. I twist it off, slowly, turning it over in my hand. It leaves a pale band of skin, like a ghost. Maybe one day I'll have the strength to toss it away, but not tonight. For now, I place it on the table. Let it sit there, a silent reminder of what was. Outside, a siren wails in the distance. Life goes on. Cars hum by. People eat, sleep, laugh, love, betray. Nothing's changed in the world at large, only in me. My phone vibrates on the coffee table. I glance at the screen. A friend from college, someone I haven't spoken to in months. I pick it up, voice hoarse as I answer. Hey. We exchange greetings. He asks how I'm doing, if I'm free to catch up next weekend. I exhale, feeling a small flicker of normalcy. Sure, I say. After I hang up, I lean back, close my eyes. There's no neat resolution for this kind of pain. No quick fix. Maybe I'll see her again. Maybe we'll finalize the divorce. Maybe we'll each find new paths in different directions. But in this moment, I let the quiet envelop me. I feel the ache in my chest, the echo of heartbreak, the memory of rage. I let it all settle, uncertain of what the future holds, certain only of one thing. I'm not the man I used to be. She was wrong about that. I've changed in ways she can't begin to imagine. And maybe that's what real betrayal does. It reshapes you, tears you down to your core, and forces you to rebuild brick by brick. Right now, I'm standing in the rubble, picking through the pieces, not sure which ones are worth saving. And that's my life. That's who I am, here and now. I whisper into the stillness, my voice low, words trembling on the edge of my lips. I don't know who I am yet, but I'll figure it out. My chest tightens as I say the line she used so often. Now I'm saying it for myself, not for her. Maybe that's my first step toward a future, one without illusions, but also without the crippling weight of revenge. The city lights shimmer, casting faint patterns on the floor. The hush in the apartment feels deeper than ever. I sit there, letting the last wave of tension roll through me, waiting for the next breath, the next day, the next piece of the puzzle. For the first time, in what feels like forever, I'm not consumed by anger. I'm just here, alive, raw, waiting to discover what's left of me after the worst has already happened. And as I sit, gazing at the reflection in the window, my reflection, I realize the man looking back doesn't have all the answers, but he's alive. And maybe that's enough.